Well, good morning, everybody. I noticed that the program says folk music. We're going to be duplicating a little bit of what I grew up down in North Alabama, where music became very informal a great deal of the time, sitting out on porches and playing guitars and fiddles and harmonicas and tambourines. And so we're going to give you a little flavor of that. And we did a little run through this morning, but this is mostly unrehearsed. I wanted to get that same flavor of a jam session. So I guess we're about ready to get started. What's first on our list? Oh, this is a Carter family tune. This comes from the bluegrass tradition. The Carter family was a family band from the 1930s that broadcast all over the place on those high-powered radio stations. I was standing by my window on one cold and cloudy day when I saw that hearse come rolling to carry my mother away. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Play it, boys. Undertaker, 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 please drive slow. For that lady you are holding, Lord, I hate to see her go. Everybody, will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. I went back home. Home was lonesome. I missed my mother. She was gone. All my brothers and sisters crying. What a home, so sad and lonely. Here we go now. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Play it again, boys, both of you. Acapella, everybody. Oh, will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Oh, yeah.
As you can tell, we're in for a real musical treat this morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Amy McKlindon. My pronouns are she, her, and it's an honor to be your worship leader this morning while our minister, Reverend Christine Dance, is away from the pulpit. Thank you. Our worship associate, Mary McManus, will be joining us by video later in the service. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix. We invite you, as always, to find a place in our sanctuary where your body can be comfortable. We have multiple seating options, a table in the back with art supplies. We have a shelf of sensory tools. As you can see, lots of space to get up, to stretch, to sway, to dance to the music today. So please, please do feel free to move around. The doors to your right, I know it's a hot day, but they do lead out to a quiet garden if you're needing a moment where there are speakers that allow you to hear the worship service in a space designed for contemplation. Right now, and as we will talk about very much in our service today, we are intentionally working on inclusion in our sanctuary so that everyone, children, seniors, and adults, can feel welcome in these spaces. A very special welcome to those of you who are joining us for the first time. I know I had a chance to say hello to some of you as you came in this morning. The Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Phoenix strives to be a spiritual community for our time, focused on diverse theological perspectives, radical inclusion, and knowing that issues of justice and equity shape everything we do. I'm also thrilled to welcome those of you who are joining us via Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook. If you're here in the room with me, will you please turn around and wave so our folks online can see us, and as we remember that we are all one congregation, no matter where we're participating from today. Welcome, welcome. Our opening words are the poem, "Now I Love You, Now I Witness," by Reverend Teresa Soto. I know sometimes you get cranky, and sometimes your tea gets cold before you can drink it. Sometimes the news is too much. The resistance seems too little. That's real. But we are here, imperfect and together and reaching. You can hold my hand if you want. I washed it with soap. It's okay. In this kind of time, now is better than later. Now I love you. Now I am sorry that it hurts. Now I witness your struggle and mine. Sometimes one answer is to be a yes in the face of every no. I am a yes for you, now and again, and later if you need me. Now please join me as we recite our covenant, and in this service focused on friendship, I invite my dear friend John Reed to light our chalice. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to share our strength in fellowship. Thus do we covenant. Everything going on at UUCP can be found on our website, which is phoenixuu.org, and you can sign up for our weekly newsletter, Compass. A couple announcements to share with you today. First, the Civic Center, which is a California-based organization, has a mission to register high school students around the country to vote. Pre-register now for a Zoom meeting about youth registration and voting, which will be held on Thursday, July 20th, and that's at 6 p.m. Arizona time. There are various volunteer opportunities available, and the links are all on the civic engagement page of our website. And now we have an announcement from Bunny Hodes.
Gosh, thanks. Well, I'm Bunny Hodes, and my pronouns are she and her, and I have the honor of being the current president of the Board of Trustees of your wonderful congregation. And I wanted to give you an update on our Close the Gap campaign. We have closed the gap and for the campaign. At our annual meeting, we had a budget of $595, and we were raised $70,000 short of that. And so the campaign, we were trying to raise $36,000, and we were looking for about 200 people to pitch in little bits each. And we had 70 very generous donors raise the $36,000 that we needed. We will be keeping the website and the email open in case anybody wants to continue to contribute. But our wonderful foundation generously offered to fund half of that gap if we could come up with the rest, and we did it. You did it. We all did it together. So thank you very much. Amy, how do I scroll on your computer? Thank you. Okay. All right. And speaking of generosity, You may notice that our grand piano looks a little bigger than it did last Sunday. The piano that you've heard in this sanctuary for the last 31 years was built in 1913. And old pianos are a little like old cars in terms of maintenance. For several years, our piano tuners and our guest pianists have been suggesting that it would be a better use of our money to buy a new one rather than continuing the increasing maintenance on this one. And I'm just like, that's okay, sorry. We're so grateful for a generous donor who approached us offering to pay for this new piano, something that we didn't think that we could be able to afford for several more years. It won't be played in service today. It still needs tuning, but our music director, Benji Messer, spent many, many hours piano shopping, and he's excited to play it for you soon. So one more time. This is a congregation that shows up generosity-wise over and over again. We're so grateful for how you support this beloved community. Thank you.
For our offering, we share the plate between UUCP and a different organization as a way to reflect our values. For July 2023, our Share the Plate partner is Rosie's House, a music academy for children. We have a big music theme going on here today. Rosie's House believes that music education is a powerful vehicle for youth to form their identity, develop valuable academic skills and life skills, and connect to their community. To do this, Rosie's House provides weekly music lessons, loaned instruments, free meals, and mentorship opportunities to 600 economically disadvantaged youth in the Phoenix area. As an organization, Rosie's House also models for us how transformative intergenerational relationships can be. This May, 100% of the high school seniors who participated in the program graduated from high school and continued to college studies, many with generous full-ride scholarships. As a dedication to the intergenerational friendships, both inside and out, please give generously as the plate passes. Greeters, please come forward, and I'll invite our musicians up to play This Little Light of Mine.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, now this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, now this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Gonna shine all over UUCP. I'm gonna let it shine. Gonna shine all over UUCP. I'm gonna let it shine. Gonna shine all over UUCP. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Gonna shine all over Phoenix.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Gonna shine all over Phoenix.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Gonna shine all over Phoenix.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Gonna shine all over Arizona.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Gonna shine all over Arizona.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Gonna shine all over Arizona.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Gonna shine all over America.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Gonna shine all over America.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Gonna shine all over America. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Gonna shine all over the universe.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Shine all over the universe.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Shine all over the universe. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Take it on home. Gonna shine all over the cosmos.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Shine all over the cosmos.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Shine all over the cosmos.
I'm gonna let it shine.
Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Tambourine. Take it on home now. This light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine.
I'm gonna let it shine.
This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Oh, let it shine. I'm gonna let my little light, let my little light, let my little light shine. Oh, give yourself a big round of applause.
All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So this is our together time portion of our service. We often invite folks, our young children, our young people, anyone who's feeling young at heart. Today's service is about intergenerational friendship, so I'm going to invite you up if you're feeling young of heart, old of heart, anywhere in between. Would love to have you up here for a little conversation. All right. So today's service, like I said, is about friendship. So I'm going to ask everybody who's up here on the steps, but also in the sanctuary, raise your hand if you have a friend who's about the same age as you. All right. Nearly universal here. All right. And why is that friendship important to you? Can I ask somebody to share that with me and I'll share it back? Why is it important to have a friend who's a similar age to you? Sure.
I had the opportunity when COVID first started out to actually meet more UUCP people than I had because there were telephone going out to a lot of people just to stay in touch. And I was very grateful that this young lady here was one of the ones who called me. And it was good to have somebody reach out. I'm still kind of hunkered down a lot, but we stayed in touch. And over time, this friendship developed because we were in touch with each other. We were spending time with each other. And the opportunity to do that is not always there. You know, we're in our lives and we've kind of made partitions in the way things go, and the people we grew up with and the people we do. And what I found out is that here in UU, because we have this closeness, and we have this wonderful time after service to get to know each other. And I've used that time to try and get to know people my age, a little younger than me, and a lot younger than me. And there are also opportunities, one in particular, and I'm going to have to ask him to help me with it. What's the name of our group? Navigators, yeah. One of the bad things about old age is you kind of forget things sometimes. The Navigators group, it was on the web when it first started out, and I had the opportunity to interact a lot with these young people. And I've kind of stepped back a little bit because they're going out and they're doing stuff, and I haven't, felt quite there yet. But I still know them. I still get to talk to them, and it really is something that makes my life happier, that I have these opportunities, and I see things differently, I hear things differently, and I hope that people I'm working with get it too. And I know Amy tells me a lot, that we get a lot about that. And I think that if we all just open up a little bit and we can share this across the community, here and out in the world, that there's a lot of value to be had in being able to learn from new people. I'm learning from you right now. Just the way you smile and you're paying attention, and those kind of things. So thank you for the time to do this.
Thank you so much for sharing that, John Reed. Lots of chances here at UUCP to get to know folks who are of a different generation. So we saw a lot of hands that went up for folks who have a friend who's about their same age. Already starting to talk about friends who are maybe some different ages than us. So who has a friend who's maybe 5 years older or younger than you, at least? Again, a lot. Keep it up if you've got a friend who's 10 years older or younger than you. Okay. 20? A lot of hands still up. 30? 40? All right. So folks who still have their hands up, I'm curious if you'd be willing to share, not to put you on the spot, or anyone else who had their hand up, why that was important to you or what you've gained from that friendship with someone who had such a significant age difference with you.
I mean, I'm cheating, but it's my son.
Oh, there we go. All right, yes. For folks who might not have heard that, shared that they're cheating because it's their son, right? But this is, right, our families are one of the places where we have our closest intergenerational relationships, and I don't think that's cheating at all. How wonderful to truly value and find our family members to be our friends. Yeah, John.
It's nice to be able to hang out with people at the same maturity level.
So our folks online who wouldn't have caught that from the mic, John says it's nice to hang out with people who are of the same maturity level as me. Yes. There's a debate about whether that means more or less mature. What else do folks gain from their friendships?
I'm much more friendly with my father than I ever anticipated that I would be. And so when I was thinking, like, do you have a friend that's, significantly older than you? He really is. And it's just like, our relationship continues to evolve because I continue to drop shields and guards and stuff that I thought I wouldn't tell him as he gets older, and it's like just to be a little bit more precious to me. I just like, everything's down.
Yeah. And I should have passed you the mic. I'm sorry about that. But just to do a very poor job of repeating that, Sam is sharing that from the child's perspective about what that means to have a really close friendship with your parent, to have that change over time and be more open with one another and just be open to how things evolve, because no friendship stays the same, right? They're all growing and changing, sometimes in ways that feel really good, sometimes in ways that don't feel quite so good. But that's part of life. Everything is growing and evolving. Thanks for sharing that. All right. Yeah, Jez.
We're all at different places in life, and it helps my mind be more flexible
Yeah, so Jez is sharing that there's a challenge, right? But it's a good challenge to be around folks that are at different ages and stages from us, that it opens our perspective, that we think about things from different perspectives, more flexible. I think that carries over into every aspect of our life. Great. Well, we have a really fun, as you've seen, lots of great music going on. We want it to be interactive, sing along. There's more space in the aisles than usual for dancing. So we are going to invite you all to stay up here if this is where you're comfortable, to move back to somewhere else in the sanctuary where you're comfortable. One of the things that brings intergenerational groups together, including families, are the holidays. So our next song is going to be a sing-along of a medley of a little bit of Christmas in July. We are going to be doing Jingle Bells and Deck the Halls.
It really is interesting. The holiday songs are the only thing that we have as a group culture much anymore. The internet and has got everything so scattered in the terms of musical styles. And in December, I stay busy. I do 25 to 30 house concerts as Santa Claus, and for obvious reasons. When you have a white beard and a red nose, you get typecast. Well, dashing through the snow on a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Ho, ho, bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleigh song tonight. Here we go now. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Deck the halls with boughs of holly.
Fa la 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 la.
'Tis the season to be jolly.
Fa la 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 la.
Don we now our gay apparel. Fa la 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 la. Fill the engine Yuletide carol.
Fa la 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 la.
Now see the blazing fool before us. Fa la 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 la. Strike the banjo, tell the chorus. Fa la 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 la. Follow me in merry measure. Fa la 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 la. While I sing of Yuletide treasure. Fa la 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 la. Joy to the world, the Lord has come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and heaven and nature sing. Ho, ho, ho.
Now is the time when we share the joys and the sorrows of our community. Being together, it is good to share, to support each other, and to connect. Our folks on Zoom, I invite you to please enter any joys and sorrows into the chat, putting your name at the beginning. For those of you who are here in person, we have Joys and Sorrows cards. They're at that table you'll see right back there. So if there's something you want to share next week, please feel free to do so. I have a few of them from you today. And holding that we can have all of the joy of the music we just shared and be holding really hard things in our life. I just want to acknowledge that because this is a harsh transition. I have to acknowledge the gun violence that happened over this 4th of July holiday week. There was a wave of gun violence, 16 mass shootings across our nation that resulted in 15 deaths. And at UUCP, we honor these individuals' lives with the tradition of dropping stones into the water and committing ourselves to continued action. So just creating space for all of those things that can be true at one time, and this is a really hard truth of our world. So please join me as we remember those who've been lost to gun violence this week. I'm going to invite everybody to take a deep breath with me. And now we'll create space for the joys and sorrows that are present today in our community. Lynn McVean shares a joy that Malcolm has started training for a good paying job, and we are very proud of him. Congratulations, Malcolm. That's wonderful. We have some joys shared here in the sanctuary. Sam and Michelle, a happy 38th anniversary. Yes, fabulous. With the message, will the circle continue to be unbroken? Amen. Pete Krillman shares the joy of a new part-time job. I had my first 3 home care aide clients this week and last. I helped 3 families with various housekeeping chores, felt really good about helping people out. That is fabulous news, Pete. Congratulations. And another anniversary that we're celebrating. John and Gita Palumbo celebrating 23 years, married, John says, to this wonderful woman. Happy anniversary to you as well. So as we share space together and hold in our hearts the joys and sorrows that have been shared both within our community and in our wider world, and those that are still here in the quiet sanctuaries of our hearts, we send love to all of you. I'm looking to see that there's a joy that just came in from Peyton in the AV booth, sharing that the family has scheduled our college visits for the end of July, bringing me a bit closer to the future that lies ahead outside of high school. I anxiously await what lies ahead. Oh, Peyton, it's an exciting time, and exciting times also bring that anxious feeling too. So thinking of you as you explore those next steps. And holding space and love for all of you as we send love to one another in person and online by sharing hearts with each other. And now Mary McManus, our worship associate, will lead us in a time of meditation. She's going to join us here by video.
This meditation is called Children Widen the Circle of Our Being in Ways That Are Limitless by Gary Kowalski. Children widen the circle of our being in ways that are limitless. Every baby that's born connects us to our history, our own parents, grandparents, and unknown forebears who brought new life to the world in each successive generation. Every baby that's born links us to the future, to a world yet to come that belongs to our descendants and that we hold in trust for our posterity whom we will never know. Each child connects us to nature, to the innocence and exuberance of a world always hatching newborns, kittens and pups and lambs and babes. Each child reminds us of the kinship we share with people of other lands and races who love their young as purely and tenderly as we do. Each child connects us to the universe, to the holy mysteries of birth and death and becoming from which we all emerge. Children widen the circle of our being in ways that are limitless.
And now I'll invite Igor, Michael, Elisa, and Ron back up for Sunrise, Sunset.
Is this the little girl I carry? Is this the little boy at play? I don't remember growing older. When did they? When did she get to be a beauty? When did he grow to be so tall? It seems like yesterday when they were small. Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset, swiftly flow the days. Seedlings grow overnight to sunflowers, blossoming even as we gaze. Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset, swiftly fly the years, one season following another, laden with happiness and tears. Seedlings turn overnight to sunflowers, blossoming even as we gaze. Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset, swiftly fly the years. Now is the little boy a bridegroom. Now is the little girl a bride. Under the canopy I see them, side by side. Lace the gold ring around her finger. Share the sweet wine and break the glass. So the full circle will have come to pass. Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset, swiftly flow the days. Sailing soon overnight to sunrise, blossoming even as we gaze. Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset, swiftly fly the years. One season following another, laden with happiness and peace.
Hi, this is Mary McManus, and I am so glad to be your guys' worship associate today. When I was little, probably about 7 or 8 years old, my favorite thing to do when I was visiting my grandma was to go to the senior center with her. The Winthrop, Massachusetts Senior Center was an amazing place because they would let me go up in the attic and pick out any puzzle I wanted for free. After a couple times doing that, I started to join the knitting and crochet circle with all of my grandma's friends, and this wonderful woman named Anne loaned me some of her knitting needles and showed me how to do basic stitches. I was hooked, no pun intended. I definitely stuck out like a sore thumb. I was a solid 7 decades younger than most of them, but those women loved me, and they taught me so much about the fiber arts. It never felt awkward or like they didn't want me there. Plenty of them invited me into their homes, including Fran, my grandmother's friend, who lived to be 100 years old. We would send each other cards to say we were thinking of each other, and I would always see her when I was in town. This woman had cataracts and arthritic hands, but she was the best crocheter I'd ever seen. She was 85 years older than me, and every year on my birthday, she would send me something she made. Jumping headfirst into a group of people at such a different stage in life is not always easy. And it's really hard when you're not your grandma's elementary school age granddaughter anymore, but I encourage you to take that jump. So many people are happy to chat if you just introduce yourself. Unfortunately, there are many groups that fizzled out or are just restarting because of COVID, including YRUU, one of my favorite places on this planet. All hope is not lost, though. To my adults out there, invite children whenever you can, even when you think they won't enjoy what you're doing. I'm sure my grandma's friends never thought I would enjoy the knitting circle that much. And join the children's ministry activities whenever you can. Every group loves a special guest, and you probably have a lot to learn from these kids. Take the jump. You never know when you'll meet your Fran.
I'm so glad Mary was able to join us by video. She's spending the summer in Washington, D.C., and just wonderful to have her voice be a part of our service. So I'm going to start my sermon with a story that will blow the cover off of my wild child persona. I know. Maybe I already have. I spent my Friday afternoons in college, wait for it, visiting residents at a local nursing home. I heard some shock and awe in the back. I wasn't pre-med like most of the other volunteers, and I wasn't earning credits or volunteer hours. I went to visit my friends. people I came to know and look forward to chatting with every week. I learned their life stories and I shared mine. And like Mary, I also learned how to knit. In retrospect, it all adds up. As a child, my great Aunt Jewel was my pen pal, and I was much more likely to hang out with my Grandpa Jim at family gatherings than my same-age cousins. I've always been a little awkward around my peers, or as some adults used to call me, an old soul. And I've been on the receiving end of so much life wisdom and a broader perspective from the elders in my life. Our families, as we talked about during Together Time, are the natural place where intergenerational living and connections are nurtured. And more research is beginning to illuminate the unique value of intergenerational friendships and relationships outside of our family units. You can see here on the slide findings from an AARP survey of adults with intergenerational friends. And it shows the benefits for both the older and the younger member of the friendship pair. At the top for both is helping to see things from another perspective. How relevant and important for this particular moment in our lives. I also love that for both groups, the friendship made them feel valued, and it gave them greater appreciation for their own life experiences. We can also see that there are areas with distinct differences in the value gained. Those with an older friend found that that person served as a role model and an inspiration for them, and those with a younger friend were more likely to feel the friendship boosted their energy and kept them up on current trends. There's also growing evidence of the value of co-locating services and supports for children and older adults. Hospice of the Valley here in Phoenix has a dementia care and education campus spearheaded by a member of our own UUCP community that provides care for individuals living with dementia and their family members, and is also paired with an on-site preschool. Research shows that children and adults benefit from these intergenerational spaces, and the vast majority of Americans think that intergenerational activities can decrease loneliness, also particularly relevant for this time. Despite these many benefits, we have few opportunities to form intergenerational friendships. In that same AARP survey, the most common places to meet an older or younger friend were an individual's workplace, neighborhood, faith community, and mutual friends. So before this begins to feel like a research lecture, let me bring it back to UUCP, to our principles and to our mission. Remember, faith communities were one of the 4 most common places where intergenerational friendships are formed. Ours is a faith community that is continuously striving to be an age-inclusive one, and there's much more to be done. We have all generations here in one space during service, which is a far cry from the quiet room behind glass that I was exiled to in my Catholic church when I was growing up. They didn't mind seeing me and the other children, but they certainly didn't want to hear us. And they were not fostering my voice, the voice of other children, the way I see happening here with our children and youth at UUCP. When I first entered this sanctuary as a 28-year-old, I was new to Phoenix and desperate to find my people. And to be honest, I wasn't sure I had when I first walked through those doors. As I looked around, most folks were significantly older than me on the whole. I still remember the joys and sorrows that were shared during that first service I attended. Someone was recovering from a hip replacement surgery, and it felt so far removed from my own life experiences. I'll admit that I kept coming back early on because I got connected with the young adult small group, several of the members who were participating when I was there here in the sanctuary today. And it was where I found community within this community. We find the places where we're comfortable, and it can take time and some external motivation to break out of them. It was my same-aged peers that brought me in the door, but it's my intergenerational friendships at UUCP that have kept me here long-term. 2 have been especially meaningful for me, and I share a bit about these relationships with their permission. You heard a little bit from John Reed earlier, so I'll just reiterate, from my perspective, John Reed and I were connected in those very early days of the pandemic to check in with one another, and before we connected that way, we had only chatted briefly once in person, and I honestly wasn't sure what to expect or what we might talk about during those phone calls. Very quickly, however, our Wednesday night calls became an anchor for me during the isolation of that period of lockdown. It was a gift to get to know someone new during that very insular time. We now share meals together regularly, and he's my outdoor mentor, encouraging me through my first solo camping trip, sharing his knowledge of local trails, and helping me to prepare for a big hike this fall. As a second example, also in 2020, I signed up for Beloved Conversations, a virtual curriculum of self-study and group discussions designed to support participants to embody racial justice as a spiritual practice. I had the opportunity to do this hard, important work with Donna Featherston, Bunny Hodas, Jan Kaplan, and Kathy Kim here from UUCP. And let me tell you, we went deep and fast. With more years of experience, life experience than me, these women helped me to zoom out from my own often myopic lens and situate myself and my experiences in the broader arc of both history and my own life. In turn, I was able to share what was going on from my perspective, some unique reflections of how I was grappling with white supremacy in my workplace. We all learned from the different perspectives in our small group. We're now about 2 years out from that formal programming, and this group of women, whose friendship I feel so deeply in my soul, continues to meet regularly. We're still sharing resources and sparking conversations on racial justice, and we're also celebrating our varied life milestones and achievements. Apparently, it took a pandemic and a racial reckoning to push me out of my same age comfort zone, and I am so glad that it did. I think I've mentioned up here before how I surprised myself and everyone who knows me when I decided to put down roots here in Arizona. And one of the main driving factors for that was that I have a stronger sense of community here than anywhere else I've ever lived. Part of that community is certainly my friends of a similar age and stage, but a big part of that is that I've been able to build an intergenerational web of support, not unlike a family, here at UUCP. With my blood relatives thousands of miles away, so many of you have become my aunts and uncles here in Phoenix. So how do we create more opportunities to build these relationships and open our doors and our hearts to children, youth, and adults at all life stages? How do we live into our mission of being radically inclusive? I have a few ideas, and I'm really excited to hear yours as well. First, I think we must recognize that ageism is one of the isms that we must seek to dismantle, both within UUCP and within our broader society. We must acknowledge, difficult as it is, that at some point in time, people of all ages have experienced marginalization here in our beloved community. We all need different things to participate fully, and sometimes those things are at odds with one another. And yet we're here. We've been having conversations about how to make this a truly multi-generational space where all feel engaged and included, and we have more work to do. Importantly, I can only share from my own experiences, and I want to acknowledge that I am not of the demographic that typically experiences the marginalization of ageism in our society. We need to hear all voices in this conversation, which leads to my second point. We must seek the perspectives of and truly listen to those in different generations. I have been in several conversations at UUCP over the years about how to bring in more young adults into our community. In one recent example, I was the only young adult in the room. And I put that in quotes because I'm beginning to feel that UUCP might be one of the only places where I can get away with calling myself a young adult. The meeting for this particular conversation, the meetings were often scheduled at a time that I couldn't attend, so my voice went unheard. As we strive for radical inclusion by age, we must take a nothing about us without us approach that authentically partners with the individuals and communities we're striving to better include. We must also remember that no one voice can represent all experiences within one group. For example, my experience as a young adult at UUCP is very different from the experience of someone who is a young person of color or a young parent. We can also create communities within this community with plenty of opportunities for us to come together. For me, that was the young adult small group that helped me to get my footing and gain the comfort level I needed to branch out here. Last year, Reverend Christine created a space to reignite that young adult small group, and we have more opportunities to nurture these types of spaces for all ages, stages, and life experiences. And at the same time, we can continue to foster opportunities to come together across around shared interests, a meal, a discussion group that cuts across ages and generations. And finally, we must take a risk and step outside of our comfort zones. Making new friends is hard. Making new friends who are different from us can feel even harder. It takes time, proximity, finding shared ground, and having repeated, deepening interactions. As an intergenerational faith community, we already have a head start. We have proximity, and we have the opportunity to come together repeatedly. We also have a strong foundation of shared values. We have so much to gain: a deeper understanding of ourselves and others, social connection in a time when that's so desperately needed, and we have so much to give: a different perspective, hard-earned wisdom, our time, our energy, our love. May we commit ourselves to the personal and communal tasks of deepening our relationships and connections with one another across generations. May we celebrate our differences in life experiences and learn from each other's wisdom. May we support each individual to flourish here at UUCP by focusing our attention and our resources on our mission of radical inclusion. May we enjoy one another, our friends, our family, here at UUCP. May it be so. Thank you. And now we'll have our final music, Hava Nagila. Thank you.
Hope you'll be joining us for coffee hour. We're going to play acoustically a little bit after the service and see how that works out. So come join us. Mazel tov.
Can we please have one more round of applause for Igor, Michael, Elisa, and Ron? Thank you, thank you, thank you. In a moment, we'll have our coffee hour outside just through these doors to your left, and a reminder to our online folks that online coffee hour is on pause for the summer. Now is that time to greet each other. So take a moment while we're still here in the sanctuary to introduce yourself to new faces, say hello to old friends, and check in. I particularly encourage you to seek out someone of a different generation or someone that you haven't had a chance to connect with before. You never know what that simple hello could turn into. Adult and children's activities will begin at noon in order to give folks a chance to grab something at coffee hour, and a reminder that masks are optional inside and outside. Go in peace, go in love, go with friendship that fosters radical inclusion and deep connection across our similarities and our differences. Thank you.